Welcome to the channel, and today's stock is Hanesbrand's ticker HBI. Ticker is trading at the moment at $4.60. The first thing that we see here looking at the chart is that this is a name that has been trading, ranging for a year now. So it's been somewhere between 5.5 down to 350. Currently, it's kind of in between those two. And what we are looking at as well is the SMA, the standard moving averages that we have here, 150, 50 days, and 250. They are starting to converge. So we could be getting to a position where there might be movement in the stock in the near future. Well, why could it be? This is a company that, if we look a little bit further back in time, has suffered a lot. It's below the 2020 level. And if we look behind, still has room to drop further to the 2009 level. So why has it gone after the 2020 shock up to almost 22, down to 460? Well, you probably all know that there have been a number of issues with supply chains around the world, and particularly this is a company that has a high exposure to freight rates as well as the price of cotton. Now, the market, if we look at how the price has stabilized since April last year, it's been kind of like ranging since then. The market seems to be anticipating a turnaround of the stock at some point. But what are the facts? Well, first of all, this is a company that has a hell of a lot of debt. So they have a debt to equity percentage of 968%. So that is huge. They are sagged with debt. So we shouldn't be experiencing, we shouldn't be looking at the balance sheet to get stronger anytime soon. Because the truth is that the revenue growth expectations are negative for 2024. And at the same time, the company is projecting earnings growth of more than 300% on the same year. So that's quite an unusual scenario, right? Expecting negative sales growth of minus 2.2% almost, with at the same time earnings growth of more than 300%. The reality of that is that the EPS is quite small, so it's going from 11 cents to 48 cents in 2024. That's very, very high expectations, and that's why the market is starting to price this time around. Stock price is starting to stabilize. But has it happened already? Well, not really. At the moment, in my view, this price that we have here is quite optimistic, and it's optimistic on catalysts that are being priced, but in my opinion, are unlikely to happen. So we have, first of all, in September 2023, if we look a little bit closer, so September 2023, the company announced the sale. I think it was somewhere around here. Yeah, the sale of one of its largest brands, which is Champion. You may have seen it. It's a sports brand, not one of the biggest. And we do not really know exactly how much revenue this represents for the whole business, because the way in which the company presents its numbers, it's not really fully clear in the investment materials. Some analysts expect this to be somewhere around $1 billion per year. But the interesting thing is that the company is thinking about potentially selling this business. And the rumors are that that should be around one-time sales. So basically $1 billion. Let's not forget that this is a company with a market cap of $1.60 billion. Um, so that's quite significant for them. And because of that, if that was to happen, well, that definitely would change the dynamics of the stock. But I don't think that this is very likely. I could be wrong here. You never know what investors could turn around. But I don't see this brand as being really attractive. I think it has a waning presence, and I think there are brands out there that are catching up a lot of speed, like On Holdings, the guys with the trainers. You have many other retailers like Under Armour performing quite all right in terms of sales. Oh, and of course, they would have to compete with Nike and Adidas and all these guys. So think about the brand and think about how strong they are. They're not that strong compared to all those guys, and definitely they're not growing as fast. And that's exactly the most important thing when it comes to an acquisition of this kind. Well, okay, can I buy this brand for $1 billion? Yes, but where am I going to take it? Is it going to remain stagnant? That's um, the thought process here. So that's one catalyst that we'll have to keep an eye on. Again, that was announced in September. We'll have to see. Another catalyst that the market is seeing is sales returning back to growth. And again, this contradicts the own projections of the company. At the same time, we do see the retail sector for apparel, particularly, being heavily shorted at the moment. If you look at the short interest here, even though it's decreased a lot, right? Because this was a heavily shorted stock at around 16%, it's going to still 10. But if you were to pull up a similar chart across peers in the sector, you would see brands that are heavily shorted as well, 10, 15%, sometimes even more. So do we think, is the market telling us that they were expecting those sales to return? Well, probably not. Maybe we're just not as bearish at this point as a market around the stock. But does that mean that sales are going to get better? Well, I haven't seen anything that indicates so, especially when we have seen brands that are showing that, but not here just yet. Here we have something just flat for the time being, also even negative. So I don't think that's potentially going to happen. And the last thing, the last catalyst that the market is seeing is the gross margin expansion. Again, that is something the company is expecting. Yes, they expect earnings growth to basically triple in 2024. But let's think about a second. Well, how is that going to happen? Because we have here a business that is highly dependable on freight rates and is highly dependable on cotton as well. So there's some things that have been happening on that front recently as well. So you have the freight transportation, yeah, achieved 2023 some levels, and then it's remained kind of stagnant but increased since summer of 2023. That's for freight transportation services index. Then we have globally the freight index for containers. Not as bad as in 2021 and 2022. But look at what happened at the end of 2023. It has decreased quite significantly too. So this is going to be a headwind for the company performance because the way in which they operate, they do have to pay for all that. And then we have the cost of cotton, which also is a key cost for them. So That's also something that's spiked significantly, and this spike comes from early November, roughly when we saw this movement in the short interest starting to recede, right? Look at what happened since. So the cotton went from low 70s to 91, where we're sitting at now. Why could this be happening? Well, in case you haven't heard about it, there have been some issues recently with shipping due to ships being rerouted from the Suez Canal to avoid Houthi attacks. So we have issues with shipping due to the Red Sea shipping routes being rerouted. Okay, that's partly due to the war in Israel and Gaza. That's obviously causing stress into shipping prices. And then we see as well issues in the Panama Canal as well, affecting supply chains. Now, that may seep into other industries, but the point is that for this particular company, they have high exposure to these two things that we just touched on, okay? Freight rates and cotton prices. So, do we realistically think, if we go back here, that this is a company that is going to triple earnings this year with those headwinds? Well, if we look at the probabilities, I'd say that even if they were to increase the earnings, it's unlikely that they're going to triple it. Okay, the probabilities of that I think are quite slim. So this is a short that I would put on my watch list for the time being. It's something I'm already looking at. Probably something that I would look to enter at a slightly higher price. I would like to see the price rise from here. Um, we have earnings coming very, very soon. So I like to see the price going up above the SMAs for the time being and see if we can enter this as a short at a higher price. Uh, Potentially, so we would have to look somewhere around here where we have this multi-year resistance. So yeah, high fives, potentially even above six. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on. Thank you for joining and see you on the next one.